Hey, yeah, we're back.
Professional network.
Yeah, well, let's we'll dive right in here in a second. But we're at episode 53, and we're kind of progressing along. And sorry we got a little bit behind on the previous week. We getting out podcast on Tuesday, which is what we try to do. But I had it's been incredibly busy here with some of the stuff I got going on. And I know you've been busy running around the state training folks on how to use social media, which is, businesses need that help. So there's a good opportunity there. They definitely need training, and private education seems to be a hot topic these days, especially with all the online solutions for going out and learning. So kudos to you, Martin, for going out there and actually putting it all together.
Yep, it's important. Review your local businesses. That's my chant. We got Christmas coming up, so I'm just repeating that over and over.
I've been going into my.
You're thinking about someone else now.
Yeah, well, I've been actually going into Google Maps and leaving reviews and things like that, and I'm liking how that's kind of connected to my Google Plus profile.
Cool. One quick thing. Make sure you haven't just clicked on just your picture. It's not switching, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Hang out.
Switching for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Just want a technical check while we got it here. Got it. So.
All right. So I had a you ever done referrals and maybe you referred when you were working for IBM or something like that you refer an employee into HR and they started to go through the process and then come to find out that they just didn't get extended an offer. Had that happen before, right?
Many times. It's tough, man. Building the network, moving in and out of employment, like I say, that it's the hardest sales job you'll ever have, because at least in sales, someone will hang up on you. Usually they give bogus answers or incomplete information and good feedback.
Yeah. So a friend of mine, a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, we had kind of told him about where I'm at, and that there's some opportunities here, especially with sales and customer support. Some real good opportunities for some inside sales opportunities here, and so he went through the referral process and the interview process and got through a couple stages and things like that, and then found out that he wasn't hired. So they told me about it, and so I sent him a reply. And I said, basically, you got to work on continuing to build your professional network. And he sends me a reply back, and he's like, "What do you mean by professional network?" He hasn't had a job yet. There's nothing there for him to have a professional network. So thinking about it, rather than sending a long email about the importance of building a professional network, which you and I have been advocates for since before you and I met and started working together, I figured we'd put together this podcast and have it be a tool just to give people an explanation to look a little bit closer at the reasons why you need to have a professional network, and then how you can make it work best for you.
Well, it's such a good honest question, because if you've been busy trying to be in school, get your grades, graduate, and accomplish all that, you're entering into it. It looks like, well, how would I get one unless I'm on the other side? And it's not. I just want to acknowledge it takes some work, but I'd love to bring some of those points up that we found, and also points that I found worked with advising young people to start building that network. I've had success in it before, so.
Yeah, and I've had success with it as well. Some people
did it. I mean, you really had you worked your way from different jobs. I've known you, in different areas where you had the skills at the higher level, but you had to build the authority in your content and networks to move into the next place. So, I mean, you've lived it.
Well, yeah, it definitely had to experience it, and I had to figure it out too. And it confuses the heck out of my wife as well. And I know sometimes it frustrates her too that you're out at networking events, but what you're doing is building your reputation and getting visibility that you otherwise would not have anywhere else. By sitting at home or just plugging away on a social network or something along those lines, especially on Facebook. So, but I moved down here to Raleigh. And from DC, I knew nobody. I didn't have a job. I was telecommuting back and forth, basically between the new house we had just bought and DC, where I was still working. And it was nearly a year before I found a job. But it wasn't until after I was building professional networks, because every community kind of works a little bit different, is what I've discovered. And when you're working in the South, you need to have friends.
Yeah.
And professional networking. I mean, this applies to every other region of the country, and I'm sure it applies outside of the U.S. as well. But some of them just have like some cultural differences you need to recognize and realize. So, and if you can tap into that by just meeting and getting out there and talking to people, it can really start to work.
Yep. Yep. No, I agree. A lot of things I'm thinking of is the fact is, Greg, you just showed up at place. You put on your suit and tie and you showed up at places. Those were because we've got on some of this. You've sought out places where other professionals are, where almost you'd be the only unemployed person. Not just job place, but that's another piece that realize it. And to me, one of the core beginning things is to realize, even though you may not have as much experience or as much or resources, it doesn't mean you can't find ways to help people. And investing in people of quality leads to good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's definitely a couple of human characteristics that you can take with you, into an event. Generosity is one. Authenticity is another one. I mean, our first podcast was about the transparency and authenticity, and we hear it today. We hear everybody hopefully saying it, and we definitely want more people practicing it. But being totally honest when you're out in a networking event, to a degree, is a good thing as well. You make better friends that way.
Well, I'm gonna caveat that one because so many people haven't had the chance of having a lot of the mentoring you and I had, and I really am going to say, figure out who you're committed to being and speak from it, not your latest feelings. So I'm going to kind of I think we have a real danger I'm seeing in a younger community where authenticity seems to be a stream of complaints because they didn't really get some distinction to this. So, this is one of the big things. And also, it's like you're looking for people that would appreciate help and finding some way you can help it. And sometimes the offer of help is sufficient. And the clarity of what you're looking for. I just want a better job. Narrow it down and just pick a few things to actually focus on. Even if you're just arbitrarily choosing them, I'm looking for some jobs in these areas, and this is what I'm looking for, or this is what network I'm building. Specificity is immensely important for helping people and finding information on it, and that's to me a real clear thing, to really make sure you've got that, and you're making the effort to know, like, I'm choosing for the next 3 months to go in this direction, and that's and Greg, when you go, I just need something better, I just need a job. That type of clarity gives some sanity to what to do and how to talk to people. Otherwise, you're just living on the emptiness you feel inside through this whole process. So.
Exactly, and I think that when you're out there and you are thinking, yeah, I do need a job, and I'm out there networking to try and find one. The important thing, and you'll hear this from anyone who has experience with professional networking, is that you have to put the people that are at the event in front of you, as opposed to you walking into the event and saying, this is all about me, because it's not.
Yeah, and few people object to being asked just some general questions about what they do, what they're interested in. You find out what they're doing, want to learn more about it. It's old as the hills and still works well, but it's amazing how few people make the effort to get out of the house, get to some things, get to meet some people, connect to them, and then work to follow up online, multiply that effort, and then there are a few other things we'll cover as well.
Yeah. Well, why don't we keep on running down the list and just kind of offer out our suggestions going back and forth on this.
Yep. Well, I'll start. Well, my big thing is the curation of content is not bad if you slow down and really do some homework on researching what do you want to be known by, who do you want to help, and how can you point out some content that's worth their attention. And it could be posting it on LinkedIn, sharing it to someone you met, meeting someone and say, did you know about this? No, that interests me. Well, let me follow up and send an email with you with some information. Then you send an email with the article and where they should look to get the value out of it. This is kind of curation as a way for building up your connections and professional network.
And it's an excellent way of establishing your professional brand, especially if you are making a career transition. So, maybe before you were a teacher, but now you want to get into sales. So how do you really kind of build your online brand around that? And that is definitely through content curation. I've do that anytime I need to take and kind of shift, because I've shifted from email marketing to sales and marketing, and doing that it's a transition of going from one to the other. Actually, there was e-commerce in the middle there, but so you can definitely shift your brand around, but you got to make it part of your plan, and definitely using content to show that and establish your brand, create consistency in what you're sharing, is totally great advice for anybody who's trying to get into another field or just trying to break in.
Yeah, and I've got from the social media management certificate program, we have some people that are in transition looking for work. Some have gotten jobs, and some have transitioned between jobs in it. And many of them go, well, we checked you out online, or we saw your articles and information. Someone just landed a new job, and it was their they had enough content and presence to be pretty screenable in it. So we're talking about building the professional network, but it's also building that so someone can check you out online, find something that shows you're it. And they had created a bunch of content, and that's why they wanted to bring them in. So I've heard this piece again, and even if you don't have the inside scoop, you can do some research and maybe write an article you put on your LinkedIn profile with a photo in a niche you want to be known by, and take the time to research it and get some information on it. And if you aren't a national writer, get someone to edit it and help you out with it to have that content.
hmm So my next tip is going to be to have courage. Pardon me. So my
Same
next
too.
definitely. Yeah, I went for a run this morning, so it was 45 when I was running. So stuff's coming up. But so my next tip would be about having courage, and what that basically speaks to is just getting out there and not being afraid to be slightly extroverted, I guess. Don't be so much of an introvert, but get out there, shake people's hands, participate in the event. Yeah, if you want a really great way of meeting people and practicing how you introduce yourself, go to a speed networking event if you can find one in your area. I've hosted 20 something plus speed networking events, and everybody walks away totally thrilled about this speed networking event. It's the marathon of all networking events, but going out and just being confident in yourself and having courage in yourself to take the risk to walk into an event or to walk into any situation where you're going to be meeting new people, shake your hand, shake their hands, and start a dialogue. This is really the most important thing. And then if it fails, then that's okay. Take the lessons that you learn from it. Fail fast. Take the lessons that you learn from it and come back and improve upon whatever mistakes, whatever failures you had, and then go back and out there and do it again. It doesn't hurt to try again.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm actually interviewing a local person Saturday that has his own ice cream brand, and he said I was an extreme introvert. I've started to just get out there and interact with people. And one of my quote is, if you really start to learn people and you have fears of connecting and to them, you'll start realizing many of them are just as afraid as you. And that's a big breakthrough. It's also making sure your internal representation of them is makes them approachable. This is kind of a funny statement, but in the study of neurolinguistic programming, there sometimes we either put people metaphorically on a pedestal or below us or something else instead of moving them to an equal so that you can walk up and approach to them. Go, look, they probably have concerns. They have challenges too, just like me. Let's get together and start talking and find the other thing. A big thing in the South is find what Gary Davis would say, non-scary topics. Unless they bring them up, maybe not the latest risk of Ebola in your neighborhood as a starting place. It's like some engineers have to learn how to talk about the weather a little bit. And I've actually coached people in just that. But it's really that verbal dialogue that lets the nonverbal, the communication occur. So you're getting some intuition of, who is this person? Could I trust them? What's useful? Where would we go next with it? So, all of this is important lessons to learn in the interaction with people.
Yeah, and it's something I think we kind of have to work on. I'll give you an example. Last night, I was out at Costco, and behind us in line was Bill Ray, and the weather guy from WNCN, the local NBC affiliate here. And I was just like, I don't want to bother him. I'm sure he gets people who come up to him all the time saying, "Give me sunshine, man." So, but anyways, it was kind of cool to actually see him in person. But no, I did not go up to him. I didn't want to bother him while I was shopping.
I want to take that one. That's such a great example. Is there something you like about his show? Did you find it useful? I mean, I wouldn't race up to him to go, well, you were wrong 4 out of 5 times. He probably gets that sufficiently in other areas. But what if you had to acknowledge, think through your Rolodex of, is there an acknowledgement? Is there something there? And just say, and it's not too much of an inconvenience. Making an effort, just say, hey, are you so and so? I've really, and then quickly get to it. I've enjoyed your show. I've watched it. Information like that. It's really a lot of those people in a high visibility area, I know from coaching and working with them, they have an abundance of critics, including their own. So, that would be a great example of how you might have approached them. You chose not to, equally fine, but that's just a good example of those moments when we miss out on something where we could. And I'm going to share a real quick one at IBM, because I did this work. I mean, I used to put everyone on authority on weird pedestals, and I interacted with them strange. And I changed my internal representation of it, and I was at IBM getting an elevator, and there was someone there I was going to a big meeting, and I'd been working in field service and very busy. And I met this guy, and I said to him, are you new in the area? And and he said, absolutely. And I said, well, welcome to the Triangle. Looks like you might be in sales. And he said, why are you in sales? The cost of your suit is one way I think you might be in sales. He had an IBM badge on. Well, while I'm talking to him, this guy next to him is starting to shake with anger, and I'm talking to him, wonder why the guy's getting so upset, and he's smiling, and he goes, and I said, I'm Martin Brossman, welcome to the area, what's your name? And he said, Townie Kennard. I went, great, Townie, it's good to, no, he didn't say his name, he said, I said, it's good to meet you, I'm Martin Brossman, and he said, I'm Townie, he didn't give me his last name. At that moment, the guy next to him broke in and goes, do you know who you're talking to? And I went, well, I just learned his name. It's Townie. He goes, he's Townie Kennard. And Townie's like looking at his subordinate going, what's wrong with you? And he's like, he was like a fifth line manager. And somehow the guy next to him was treating him like I should be bowing down to God or something. I was just civil and pleasant, And then we go, well, then welcome. It's good to have you here. And tell him some places to go. Get to Angus Barn if you get it. Anyway, the long story short is I get in the meeting. There are like 600 IBMers there, and the first thing he says, I want to tell you how welcome I felt. I met this customer engineer named Martin Brossman here, and he introduced me and told me what, and it was like the cornerstone of his talk, And in the old days where I had a misrepresentation of authority. Now that doesn't mean I don't respect or appreciate someone who's earned a place in society. That's not it. I would have been awkward in being able to talk to him, and there was a big deal. So that's, to me, part of in that professional network of getting honest about how you code people in yourself. So anyway. Glad we had a chance for that story to come out again.
I think that's a great point. That's a great point to make, because reaching out and just having that courage to say hi, and just, it's amazing what can actually happen from that.
Well, so, I want to add one more thing. It's sort of like, for those that are fearful of this, when I first went parachuting, I realized I wanted to be one of the first people, because if I'm busy trying to climb out of the plane, it's harder to be as scared as sitting in the back worrying about it. So getting up and interacting with people is a lot less fearful than not doing it at all and just sitting there and suffering yourself. So anyway.
Good. Well, I think that might be about all the time that we have for today.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have probably a part 2 to this, and go through a couple more things that we have written down here. But we've had such good experiences here to take and share that we might need to split this up into a second episode. So take a look and wait for next week for next episode, everybody.
Yeah, and let's hear yours. We want to really hear, what have you learned in building your professional network? Imagine a younger person or yourself, or they're coming out. We got a lot of people coming out of school, or veterans coming back where they're switching. It's almost like they just started over. What's your advice on building a professional network? So let's hear it from you. We'd love to brag about you and share it on the show as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You can come out to the website and go to the linkingintosales.com. Fill out the contact us form that's out there, and we'll get that. You can also comment in the group on this podcast on LinkedIn. Come up to the Facebook fan page. You can find us out there too. Comment on this YouTube video, or in the if you're listening on the podcast, like I said, go out to Linking Into Sales, or come to meet us on social, and share your story with us, because we would love to share it out there. We'll keep it anonymous if you want, but we'd love to take and include you in our discussion here.
Excellent. Well, this wraps it up. Close it out, Greg.
All right. Well, you've been watching Linking Into Sales, using social media to support the sales cycle.